Good morning and welcome to Bolton. I'm Joyce Stilley, the Administrative Officer for the Town of Bolton, and this is a live show done the first and the third Tuesdays of each month from 10:30 to 11 a.m. The show is rebroadcast on the second and fourth Tuesdays at the same time. The show is a continuing effort to promote open communications within the community, and if you have any upcoming events, any groups that you would like to have information out for them, or just topics you'd like to see us cover, please contact me at the Town Hall and we will try to get those shows on the air. We were actually snowed out 2 weeks ago, so I have returned guests today, two special guests, our Deputy First Selectman, Bob Lassard, and our First Selectman, Bob Mora.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
And we're going to talk today about some proposed capital projects that we're actually considering for bonding out, not this year,
Right.
but potentially in the year after that.
Yeah, just a little history on that as we try and plan for the future and when we look at large expenditures, when we plan for the future, two things we're looking at. One is hopefully some economic growth, and two, the town's ability to deal with a bit of a larger debt. And we are, as you look out 2 years, we are retiring significant debt, and that's part of our plan, that the impact to the taxpayer is minimized because we're retiring debt. And our goal has always been long-term to maintain a certain level of debt so that there are not spikes, and that's part of this plan, just to introduce it a bit.
No, and that's correct. And part of the Board of Selectmen is you are always looking at a 5-year plan, plus you're looking out further as to what's needed overall. And how can we combine these things together? The last thing that you want to do is have competing projects as well.
Right.
That's correct. And one of the things that I think we should mention is that, although not directly a result of a process that we call the CAPA process, we do bring together the three major boards in town to talk about these issues. The horizon there is roughly 2 to 5 years, but in the process of talking about them, it flushes out some of these long-term projects that people may have on their plates that they would like to have happen. And therefore, we can plan for it so that we don't end up with two major projects occurring and overlapping each other.
And let's start with, certainly one of the projects is actually we haven't closed out the school project completely yet.
Right.
So who would like to
Well,
talk about
on that one, it's basically, as we talked about earlier, there's a certain amount of funds that the state has not released yet. They examine the project, and in part of the examination of the projects and the expenditures, they determine, in their infinite wisdom, are certain things eligible for state reimbursement or not? And inevitably, there's always some things that are not. So there's a pot of funds that the state has out there, and the amount that will be, quote, given back or paid by the state will vary depending upon this issue. But we have to plan for a certain amount, and part of our plan is, in that bond package, will be the final payment of the high school, and that number will vary depending upon what we need. But that's also considered as part of our plan.
And since we're talking about the high school, we're also looking at some other projects at the high school that they've had some changes and expansions in programs. Yep. And we're looking at some major things that tie to them, as well as Herrick Park. That's
correct. And some of those programs fall in the area of recreation, an area that I'm very much interested in over the years. At Bolton High School, we're looking at the change, a new field basically is what it amounts to. The current fields are starting to show the wear and tear. And looking out into the future, I know there is a subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen that are looking at various alternatives, both natural turf and synthetic turf. So these are things that, again, this is a future project, but something that would be interested as far as the recreation community is concerned, because we do have a lot of recreation activities in town. We're also looking at Herrick Park. As you drive into Herrick Park currently, there's a field off to the left, which we've talked about over the years, but there is a thought in place, and let's see, at least one soccer field, a couple of ball fields there.
It's 2 ball fields, and then the outfields of them will combine together for a soccer field. And actually, I think the first time it was talked about was in the mid-'80s,
Yes,
and we've progressed to this point.
that's only taken 30 years.
That's right, that's right.
And just to expand a bit upon what the high school project, it does change pretty significantly the back part, because we're actually going to have a track around a new soccer field, a new practice soccer field, and also we're looking to do some expansion of the tennis courts and some relocation as part. But that's all really tied together, I think Bob alluded to, as part of an overall view of all of our recreational facilities. And instead of as an us versus them thing, we felt it was important. We considered it as town recreational.
And in the Booster Club and Little League, softball, soccer has been involved in the discussions, and they're the ones who actually came and said, we need more fields. We can't hold all the games we need, and we need fields. And so it expanded from that. And while the high school has a track team, they practice on the roads, in the parking lot, that we don't have a track. And that sport has grown in popularity, as has tennis, where we need more tennis courts. And so it's all part of the project to meet the needs of rec, of the school, the town as a whole.
Right, and some of that, like if you will, tennis courts and all that, they're open to the public. And it's simply not something that, on a number of these things, that simply aren't going to be just locked up for the school and then that's it. And I think that's part of why we're looking at this overall plan. And the other thing that's happening at the school, at the school projects, if you will, our elementary school, the K-8, or the center school, is now at an age where it's 20 years old, and the roofs have to be redone. So that's part of this project. At the same time, the Board of Education is looking at the installation of solar panels on both the center school and the high school. Excuse me.
Bless you. Bless
Pardon
you.
me. Yeah. Nothing to do with the solar panels. It's not it was not meant to.
Allergic to the sun.
Right. There's no comment there. But they're also looking at that as a energy saving measure, and that's also being considered. All these are in stages of being looked at, getting some numbers together, and the practical aspects of doing this. But that, if it comes to fruition, would be a huge array of solar panels on both the high school and the center school, plus a new roof on the center school.
And it's actually the middle school section that is at its 20 years, but the other one is probably at 12 or 13.
Right.
And so,
When
you're
you
at that decision, do you just do it now or not? And so there are many factors out there yet, structural engineering as to weights and things like that need to be addressed. But that's certainly a possible upgrade for both of those buildings. We had looked at it several times for town buildings, but the historic town hall is not a place to put them.
Right.
We were limited, and we had 2 other possibilities, really, the library and the fire department, but it just structurally it didn't make sense.
Structurally doesn't work, and also the roof design and the orientation of the buildings. It just you couldn't generate enough to make it work. That's an interest in the school's study on this. I mean, they're really looking at is the fiscal side of it, is there a sufficient return? Because you'll be generating electricity when you're not using it, and what's the return back to the
Right, feeding it out to the grid. So.
right, feeding it to the grids, and also it reduces your use from the grid. So there's a supposedly, or what looks to be a significant savings if these numbers come to fruition. And as solar energy panels, I mean, year to year they get more efficient.
Yes.
I think by the time this project would go forward, the numbers probably would be much better for us than even they show now. So it's an exciting project. I think it has some interesting possibilities for the future.
When you switch over some of your mechanicals
Right.
to
Yeah.
that, and as the high school project, it was geothermal, so it really already does use more electricity
Right.
than it would have before.
Right, because you have all the
using-
pumps and everything going
Correct.
there.
So
So you save on oil, you use a little more electricity.
But also, as you go forward with photovoltaic, they tend to be getting lighter and lighter.
Right.
Now, this is not completely photovoltaic, but that portion is. You require less structure underneath it. So the estimates we have now of costs may actually go down over time.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
We also have some other things that have come up at Bolton Center School for future work as well.
Right. And
Right.
that's some of the things we're actually, again, we're looking at these things now, developing cost and projects that we're doing. I don't mean to jump in here, but the two major ones are the parking lots themselves, and they've aged, and the pavement in there has reached a point of, as in anyone's home parking area and driveway, they reach a certain age where they crumble.
Yes.
There's no way you can possibly, you can't coat them. Resurfacing without a good base is putting good money after bad. So it means redoing that parking area. So that's part of what we're looking at, and also changing basically the concrete sidewalks, which are spalling, cracking, and have issues. Some have lifted part of that whole project as a doing and that's a project unto itself, doing the sidewalks and the parking areas. Again, that's part of, I think part of maintaining your infrastructure, and basically if you own it, you should maintain it and maintain it properly. I think part of the town's view of our philosophy is we're better off utilizing a high level. We've got to get these things done, but following that, a program of high level of maintenance to extend the life of everything, because they're expensive to change, and that brings us to, I guess, the fire truck.
That's right.
Yes.
And since you're a half a century member of the fire department,
We'll pick that one up. But that's an example. This is a good example of maintaining a vehicle to get the maximum out of it.
Yes.
The fire department is in the process of developing specifications for replacing its tanker truck, which is over 20 years old,
Yes.
well over 20 years old. And
I
we've
believe we did a refurbishment on it 10
eight-
years ago,
yeah,
maybe?
at 10 years. So this thing's pushing 30 years. And it's still in operation. It's still a frontline piece. And it is that only because of the high level of maintenance in our refurbishing. But, like you say, you can only do so much with a stagecoach, and it's time to move up. So this is where we are, and that's what's being spec'd out. And like anything else, this will be better than what we have. What we have is a vehicle that carries 2,000 gallons of water. This will carry at least 3,
Right.
plus all the other equipment that goes with it. That's the modern view of tanker firefighting issues. And the good thing, I say on it, of all the bits of fire equipment that we do purchase, these are probably this type of apparatus is the most inexpensive. Though
Yes,
nothing is inexpensive, but relatively speaking, this piece of apparatus is the most inexpensive. And because of its type of use and everything else, maintaining the same level of maintenance we have, it should last well beyond 20 years.
Well, and you're talking, the last engine tank we purchased was in 95, 96.
Right.
And at that point, it was just over $200,000. You're 20 years later.
Right. For a
Right.
vehicle that is less, that same vehicle, the $200,000 vehicle today is about $700,000.
It's
And the
unfortunately,
it is. And the tanker truck, though, good news, we don't normally talk dollars, but that's probably around $500,000.
Right.
And in today's world, in firefighting world, that's called a moderately priced piece
Yes.
of apparatus.
and people may question, we just bought something, and we have over the last 6, 8 years,
Right.
we have purchased 2 other pieces of apparatus. But unfortunately, that time span is how we've purchased them before.
Right.
So we're still in that time
We're in
span for
that final
replacement.
replacement
Right.
We
cycle.
did that close together before, and so again,
Right.
they fall close together again.
Right.
But they're all completely different types of
Right.
apparatus.
This will be the 4 totally different pieces of apparatus. And that will complete the updating for some time, the most significant pieces of fire equipment that we have.
I suppose I can interject as a person who's never been a member of the fire department. I oftentimes will look at it, oh, another fire truck? Aren't these people getting fire trucks every other year? Well, if you start to look at it, as Joyce pointed out, the trucks that we need are in service for 20 plus years. And when it comes time to replace it, it's not just one of those things that, oh, I need another fire truck. They're looking at their current fire truck or the piece of equipment, and they're saying, this no longer meets the needs of the town. It's no longer really safe to drive in. We can't get replacement parts. They don't stock them anymore. The parts that we do get are custom machined to fit the equipment that we have, and that, of course, drives the cost up. So if you start looking below the surface, you start realizing that you need pieces of equipment on the truck that are necessary to fight the fires that we have today in our town. And you certainly don't want to place any of the firefighters in jeopardy going out to a fire and then having a piece of the apparatus fail as they're getting there and causing an accident. So as you get past the initial hurdle, if you want to think of it, oh my God, another fire truck, start looking into it. You start to realize if you want that protection, then these are the type of pieces of equipment that you need to give you that protection. And again, like I say, I'm not a member of the fire department, so
Right.
as a sort of a citizen looking in at it.
Yeah, but that's a great observation, that the goal has been not just to change a truck, but to bring the modern technology into the
correct.
fire service and to utilize it. So, and unfortunately, in any public safety, nothing's cheap.
Well, when I joined the department in '88, the rescue truck was basically a van,
Right.
an
big box van.
oversized box van. And now if you looked at the rescue truck, what it carries and its capabilities, it's like night and day. And if that makes a difference in saving somebody's life,
Yes,
That's what it's all about.
it doesn't make a difference of the cost.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on something.
certainly if you're that person.
That's right,
Right.
that's right. The next projects are really all tied to the Bolton Center study.
Right.
And who would like to start with one of those items?
Well, I'll start off on this one.
Good.
You can clean up after me. Correct my mistakes, if you will.
No.
The Bolton Center study, over the years, the town has looked and asked their citizens, what do you like about Bolton? And one of the things that keeps on coming through is the fact that many citizens like the rural character of the town. And of course, what the center of a town sort of reflects what the character of the town should be. And we're very lucky in the sense that we don't have a major highway going right through our town center. And given that as an asset, we felt it was time to take a look at what should the town center look like in the future. How should our various municipal assets within the town be connected so people can use them better than they're using them today, make them more accessible than they are today. And what we're talking about here is the Stagecoach property, the old Stagecoach house, which is next to the town hall. The town hall itself, obviously the Heritage Farm, both the barn and the house. And also sitting right in the middle of this is the town hall. So we have these pieces of property in the center, and not too far away we also have the Bolton Center School as well as the Bolton High School. So how can we best connect all of these? How can we best utilize these in the future to keep our rural character so when people come to Bolton, they have an image of what exactly Bolton is? You can go to other towns in the state, maybe Litchfield or what have you. You drive through it, you come away with an impression of what the town is like. We would like the center to have that. So we were lucky to get a grant to look at the center of town, $50,000 grant. We did. A number of stakeholders on this, was it probably 30, 40 people
yes,
contributed to this report. It was open to the public. Anybody who wanted to come in and talk and say what their ideas were encouraged to do so. The firm that we hired, it was Keegan and
Richter and Segan.
Richter and Segan, prepared a report for us where they documented what our ideas were in combination with their experience dealing with other towns in the past. And we have sort of come up with an outline, a skeleton of a plan that we're trying to implement. We're in the early stages of that right now. And I'm very enthusiastic about this. It's something that maybe it's got a 20-year horizon, maybe it's got a 10-year horizon. We're not really sure. But it's something we're working toward. There are some elements that could probably be done fairly quickly. Other elements, well, it's going to take a while, and we have to find funding sources for it.
Right.
Okay, now you can.
No, that's great, but that kind of leads into a thing that Joyce will be doing things on during the course of the year, is at our town hall, which is celebrating its 100th birthday this year.
Yes.
And like anything 100 years old, even though we've done, I think, a yeoman's job in preserving the building, bringing the operational portion of it up to as modern a level as we can. But there's only so much you can do with a 100-year-old building that was designed as a community hall, and it now functions as virtually most of our town offices. And we've reached that critical stage a while ago. And so part of our plan is really to build town hall offices and design in a manner that it would be a part of that whole center complex to the rear of where our present town hall is. Something that would be both architectural pleasing and consistent with the type of structures we have there, but finally have the ability for offices and to meet our current town needs. And we plan this, we're looking for 25 years out. We're doing the building because you just don't build town halls for a short period of time. You even look beyond what a school is built. So that's what we're looking at, and that's part of our overall plan going forward for our main capital. And that's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for the community, and certainly a big deal for all the staff that have to work there, who are trying to provide services for our citizens in what are some pretty stark quarters.
There are no hallways.
Right.
You're always walking through
You're always
an office.
walking through, and we always invite the public to come in there and just take a look for yourselves. And if you'd like a real eye-opening tour, Joyce would be happy to give you a tour of our basement level, which is truly a step back into the late 1800s. since we have a stone foundation building with dirt floors and wood posts as support. Quite a step back in history, but it truly gives you a concept of what we've been able to do over the years and where we need to go.
And with part of that, we just have a couple minutes left, but we've had to expand offices elsewhere.
Right.
This would bring everybody back together.
Right.
And one of the considerations then for this package is also looking at Notch Road, the center and the north end,
Right.
and possible demolition.
Right.
Because it'd be cheaper to build new if we needed something there.
And there's an example of just an older building that is simply, it's beyond the point of the economics of it simply
Yes.
do not allow us to rehab it. It just needs to be taken down and utilize that area for
other
future.
things. We have 2 minutes. Closing thoughts?
Well, I think the next several years are going to be very exciting in the town.
Yes.
And I encourage everybody who is listening to this program, get involved. Your voice counts. Believe me, certainly on the Bolton Center plan, we need volunteers to make this plan work over the next decade or so, whatever that time frame happens to be, and join in us celebrating the 100th anniversary of the town hall, and in a few years, 6 years, the 300th anniversary of the founding of the town.
Right. So we got a lot coming up, and stay tuned because we will be discussing these projects for the next year and a half. As things become more refined, costs come together, we're coming forward so that everybody knows what's going on, and we're going to be asking. I think the projects will sell themselves, but we'll be presenting the facts to you so you can come out there and hopefully support them.
We're just in the preliminary stages.
Right.
Thank you both for joining me today. Thank you to Community Voice Channel for its continued support. I'll see you in 2 weeks, and we have a new resident state trooper, and hopefully he'll be able to join us on our next show. See you in 2 weeks.